Um, Hi everyone. My name is Regina, and I'm going to be speaking about empowering open source communities, a subtopic on strategies for building contributors engagement in underrepresented geographic region. This is mainly a continuation of a series that I started, say, about the last three GUADEC. And I feel like this is more like the capping of everything I've been talking around diversity and sustainability for the NOM project for about 3 to 4 years now. So for this particular presentation, I am going to be talking about more like an introduction of myself for those of you that doesn't know me, and importance of geographic diversity. I'm going to be talking about strategies for building contributor engagement. And this is mainly going to be focusing on strategies that I have employed through individual research and what is basically going on around the Gnome Africa community. And I'm going to be speaking a little bit about some of the challenges and also using Gnome Africa as a case study for my talk. Then finally, I'll be giving more like recommendation and conclusion that I think that the Gnome project can follow. And this is again mainly on um, the research that I've been able to conduct within the community and the things I've noticed and I've worked with. So why am I basically giving this talk? I feel like um, I've been approached more than once about basically how I've been able to work within NOM and the African community and how other communities can actually more like leverage how we've been able to expand the NOM presence within Africa. And I feel like this is a really good platform to basically share the strategies and hopefully it will help other local communities in different regions as well. So who am I? I'm Regina, and I'm a project maintainer and also a director of community. For my daytime job, I work as a software engineer at Zakia. I am also an OSPA ambassador at Zakia, means is diversity among project maintainers. So basically, the concern here is that variety of project maintainers within the non-project do not still understand the benefits of why there should be increased diversity within contribution within their project. And so when I personally approach project maintainers of GNOME apps and all, I mostly have to always explain reasons why the project is not they don't understand diversity and why it is important that they should allow people from underrepresented region to come in. So this has more like been like a blocker to my work within the known project, that project maintainers do not still understand the essence why diversity is required within the known project. Another thing is that we have some level of homogeneous contributor base, people from a particular region contributing to a particular project. For instance, people from maybe Europe contributing to a particular project, and they find it difficult to involve other people from other region into that project. That way you find yourself having to do a whole lot of explanation, helping them to see the reason why diversity is really important here. Um, Another thing that I found as a blocker is use the word paid contributors. Not everybody understands that they are paid contributors within the non-project. Let me explain. So there are contributors that are paid by organizations to work on non-projects, and there are contributors that are paid by the foundation to work on non. And there has not been a particular boundary as to what level of roles is needed for paid contributors and how paid contributors can allow volunteers to basically participate in what they are doing. So there's not been more like an explicit boundaries drawn within this two set of people. Another thing is resource allocation. So they are not more like region-based resource allocation for underrepresented um, geographic region. So we don't have budget allocation, you say, for Asia, for Africa, and this is basically what we want to spend to ensure that we bring about more contributors into the GNOME project. So these are the factors that are found that are basically unique to the GNOME project. Aside from every other thing else that we have mentioned, um, on the internet around factors for underrepresented geographic diversity within open source. There's so many reasons why it is important that we allow for people from different regions to be able to contribute to open source. And if you would Google today, you would find many reasons. But these reasons are basically not just reasons because um, it's important to be diverse, but it is reasons because it is important to have a more diverse collaborative innovation around the non project. So they are being researched, even with real world examples and bigger projects that demonstrate that geographical diverse teams bring unique perspective to problem solving, to innovation. And this is why it's more like a concern to me that there's still less of this representation around the GNOME project. So one of the things I wrote here is increased global reach and impact. The GNOME project is a very unique project within the Linux ecosystem. What we're doing is something that is bringing desktop application, free desktop application to open source, to the Linux ecosystem. And this I feel should allow for benefit even out from Europe, from America, for people outside to be able to come in and actually also participate in the awesome work that we've done over the years. Another thing is sustainable community growth. What do I mean here is that if you look at the percentages around research on project maintainers that are going on burnout within different open source projects, you would see that if we had to take the statistics, 5 to 10 years down the line, there would be less people concentrating on projects. And many projects or many apps within GNOME, aside from paid contributors, that means organizations that are currently paying people to develop this application. There will be other apps that are just redundant, they are not contributors. one of the wise things to do here is to allow for, people from diverse regions to come in and begin to take up these responsibilities and begin to contribute, support the project maintainers that are currently doing awesome works within the GNOME applications that we have at the moment. Um, Another thing I wrote about here is feedback and testing. And I like the fact that there's a use case that was taken recently around NOM, around asking for people to give their feedbacks with survey for internship and all of that. And that's really awesome to see. Um, and the whole idea is that if we have broader user feedback and testing, you would have better perspective of different people that would not be biased, that would not be limited to a particular region, right? And of course, the last thing there is inclusivity and equity. That means allowing opportunities for people from underrepresented region to be able to come into the GNOME project and make impact as well, and also thrive within the community. All of this benefit is basically allowing for a space for people that are not seen within the community to be seen without feeling not seen. And that what I mean there is that I've come across certain project maintainers and have conversations with them. And I see that what happens there is that some project maintainers are actually scared that allowing contributors to come in might basically limit their contributions within non-project or make them less visible. I think, which is not true. This narrative is something that we need to understand that it is helping your project and giving more visibility to the known project rather than you personalizing or making it seem as though this is going to make you less relevant in a known project. So I looked at some of the challenges and some of the case studies that we've looked at within the Gnome Africa project. So before I dive into the challenges, when I came into the Gnome project, I think that was around 2019, I can't remember vividly. And I think I was introduced to two other Africans as myself. That means we are just three. And I listened to the opinions of the other Africans that came in with me. And it was more clear that the community is not allowing contributions from our end. And as someone that feels as though um, this has to change, I'm somebody that basically like I'm determined to want to do something different. I feel like we have a lot of developers within Africa. Not allowing Africa to come into the known project, it's more like having a large chunk of developers not having access to an awesome project like GNOME, right? So let's look at data analysis of basically the GitHub Octoverse that happened in 2023 as regards to contributors around Africa, developer communities. Because when we want to talk about people that are basically going to come into the GNOME project to make contribution, we are talking about people that are either in a developer community or people that are in technology or just basically just want to contribute to open source. So there are different countries around Africa, which is obviously a continent. And so if you look at this data, you see that for the fastest growing developer community in Africa, we have Nigeria on that list, which is basically 45%. If you look at most of the open source projects at the moment, you're likely to find more Nigerians than other African countries. And that's mainly because this data shows that there are more Nigerian developers have been interested in open source than other African countries. And but if you even look at the gaps within other African countries, you will see that they are not so more like far from each other. For instance, for Ghana, we have about 41%, for Kenya 41, Morocco 35, Ethiopia 32, and South Africa 30%. It shows that there is more like an interest in open source. And I feel like this is more like an untapped region that GNOME can basically begin to tap into this particular resource and get these developers engaged within what we do within the GNOME project. Um, so I started in GNOME Africa, I think around 2019, 2020. And over the time I started the project, I found that there are contributors currently contributing right now, which is really good. Really shout out to Outreach and GSOC, right? And we still have inspiring contributors, or should I use people that are aspiring to basically contribute to the project, but they don't know basically where to start. We have a large chunk of those people currently at the moment. There are people that are basically contributing to other open source communities in Africa, but they are still interested in GNOME, but they've not found a pathway in. And then there are people that are basically right now contributing to outreach within GNOME and also contributing to other open source projects, but they're still within the community, hoping to get a chance to be able to participate in GNOME projects. And there are people that are interested in programs like GSOC and other programs within GNOME, which is university outreach programs. If you want to learn more about the programs that we've done recently, you can go to the GNOME event page. Category 7 is basically event for GNOME Africa. So what are the challenges that we are facing here? One of the challenges here is that there are no proper pathways to help people that do not have any idea about GNOME projects to contribute to GNOME project. So what that means is that even if you're a developer, you still need some level of mentorship, onboarding to be able to come into GNOME project, to be able to make more like an impact within GNOME project. So what strategy did we employ? Basically, one of the strategies that I personally took on as a project is basically research. And I did a research internally that I was opportunity to present to the board when I was on board. And there are certain teams that came out of that research, and that's basically the teams that I have worked on with the African team to be able to do what we are doing at the moment. Um, the things that came out from that research were things around awareness, testimonials, visibility, and fundraising. So I used basically the awareness aspect to build a community roadmap that guided more like our activities into building more awareness of GNOME within the African region. So everything that we have done for the past 3 years had basically been around building awareness and running programs that take me to the next thing, running programs for newcomers, programs that allows newcomers to be able to come in and to be able to basically learn about the GNOME project and be integrated into projects like Outreach and also learning about GSOC. So we did a lot of awareness initiative. If you had followed our previous account that was blocked, we did a lot of Twitter spaces, we did a lot of community engagement, things to basically get people excited about the project and be able to basically come into the project. And one thing we did more is about collaboration. One of the things I've done over the years is to speak to more of known project maintainers to see if there could be a pathway for people to contribute within known projects. And I think that this is a way other communities as well can actually get people to get things to do with known projects, having collaboration with project maintainers and having more like stretch of talks as to how people from underrepresented region can basically come in to your project. So this result of everything we've done is basically around having to speak in large events about GNOME, having to do a whole lot of things around both, talking to people one-on-one as to how they can contribute and how GNOME is a community that is welcoming, which is why I'm hoping that we'll continue to be welcoming to people like myself going forward. Um, so we brought new contributors in non-projects. We brought people into outreach. There's still a lot of interest within the university outreach programs. That interest within the GSOC, and there's also interest of people still wanting to get involved in the community. Winding down a bit to recommendation and conclusion as to the things that I've done basically on research and the things that I feel like the GNOME community can basically do. The thing here is about looking at the GNOME structure, how we are structured, and how we can begin to know that we are part of a larger circle, and everyone is basically um, um, let me use the word, everyone is involved in bringing underrepresented region in. And this is not to talk about now, in this case, not to talk about just Africa alone, because I've had conversation with other communities as well that are not African communities. I'm talking about the Latin, I'm talking about Asia, talking about communities that are currently not seen within the NOM community. We all, both as a project, as a foundation, and as a community, has to work to see that we give a chance to underrepresented region. So for the GNOME project, you already know that the GNOME project basically what out our desktop environment and it also includes GNOME technology. And this involves contributors and maintainers. So the contributors currently of this GNOME projects and maintainers has a role to play to be able to more like get in more people from underrepresented region. Another work here is for the GNOME Foundation, which is basically um, about directors, the staff, and advisory board members. Everyone basically has to work on more strategies. I'm quite excited now that there's more like a 5 year strategic plan, and I'm looking forward to see how that is going to be in more like implemented in years to come. To see that there are more like intentionality into engaging underrepresented region into what the GNOME project is doing. And we as a community, and I mean every one of us, foundation members, local and international communities, in our several in our different regions, we still have to continue to work to strive to see that we allow for engagement of underrepresented communities. So what can we do mainly? I'm someone that is data driven, so it means that there are a lot of data around underrepresented region in open source, but there are less data that are basically tilted towards open source, a particular open source project. For instance, the GNOME project. There are less data that speaks about diversity, representation in the community. And this is where I think that the first work should begin. Having to do some sort of research within to identify the most underrepresented region to better, tell more on engagement strategies. So what do I mean by this? It's basically taking more like surveys around. We have the newcomers channel, we have the foundation channel, and we have other channels of different projects as well, and find out which region are most represented. I mean that when we look at the statistics of responses, observe the responses you have within the newcomers channel, you can already know what is going on within the community without having to take a research. But the research basically helps you to know where we can actually put our energies and like where we can begin to make impact, to drive impact in. So this is one area I think that is important that we drive to see that which regions are now underrepresented and how can we begin to tailor our programs, initiatives to basically reach out to these particular regions in the NOM community. So after you're able to basically do some sort of research, the next thing there is basically looking at funding and resources. So when we know the areas which are underrepresented, we can begin to know where to tilt funding, where to tilt resources, where to tilt programs, and we can begin to get more tangible impact as to what we have done, you know, with the data and the research that we've been able to gather, and that drives towards the tailored programs. If research is done, funding are allocated, funding will be used for programs that are tailored towards this underrepresented region to ensure that these people within this underrepresented region are allowed to make impact in the community. Another thing here is testimonials and spotlights. And I think I spoke about this in last GUADEC. It's important that the global GNOME community touch light on people from different communities that are making impact within the global GNOME community. So this basically helps you to more like demonstrate some sort of intentionality and support diverse contributors and inspire others to join. So if you have diverse contributors in outreach currently, try to talk about the work you're doing and showcase it to the global open source ecosystem that when you say that we are building a diverse, sustainable software, that is not just a buzzword in the GNOME project, that we are intentionally actually driving this to see that changes come within the GNOME community. So testimonials and spotlights cannot be overemphasized when we are basically throwing out things around our social media platforms or informations rather. Feedback loops is something that I feel like would basically help a lot in when we are done with programs and all of this stuff, we can begin to take more like feedback loops to basically check what areas did we do better and how we can more be more better, in the next programs that we are going to do. And the sixth one there is actually to promote local community programs. I would want to give it up for I think the engagement channel. They're doing a lot of work to promote local community program. I remember the last time I traveled to Africa for something we didn't know, and I know how they had to work off hours to see that they're able to basically talk about this work. More of something like this is really good because basically it helps to show and give an history of the work that we are doing within other areas that we are not mostly, I'll use the word visible. And this is me ending my talk, and I'm ending with something like, um, at the beginning, I started by saying that why is geographic diversity still a challenge in open source communities? And if I will look at this a bit more, why is this still a problem within a known project? As you look at what I've said about how we started, the problems we are having, the factors that are contributing to these problems, the things that are basically making it acting like a blocker for people like myself, people from other different regions to basically come to the known project. If you look at all of this, you would see that the reason why you and I, or you would inspire to work with larger organization. The reason why I work where I work for my day job is because diversity is a core value. Diversity is basically not just a word that was made up, it's actually, demonstrated in the way we work. And I'm sure that we all are in different communities where we all, let me say, different organizations where diversity is not a buzzword, that you've seen that this thing actually works. So if we as a community can work more to embed diversity into our core values and see that we are making it essential, part of our culture, in the way we demonstrate what we are doing in our platforms, which we have been doing a good job already, but we can actually do more and improve on these areas. In the way we relate to ourselves, in the way we advance contribution from people that are not like us, people that is not like me, people that's not like you, that is when we begin to build a culture of diversity. That is when people from outside of NOM can say that, oh, NOM is actually a diverse community and would have less um, mismatched observation around what we are doing in the community and what we are trying to portray outside. And this is basically a story that I think that it'll be easy to tell to a funder that wants to fund a project like NOM, a new funder, because you wouldn't have to look for these stories. They would have been told by the stories we've been basically speaking about in our social media platform. They would have been told by the things we engage on. They would have been told by the project and the people that are basically participating in our internal projects and maybe other newer programs to come. So I would end by saying that if we take all of this together and we begin to act on this, both as a community, as a project, and even within the leadership team, I think that looking 5 years down the line, which is basically the roadmap that we have, a strategic um, document that we have drafted, you would see that there would be a whole lot of change that I feel like other communities will begin to basically learn from the values that we have been able to do um, over the years. Thank you very much. And I'm currently on Twitter and LinkedIn if you would like to basically connect with me. Um, and if there are questions as well, I'm open to questions. I have to leave some time for questions. Yeah.